And Altvest Capital has joined the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. The investment platform joined the JSE to raise liquidity through listing on its alternative exchange board. I caught up with Altvest CEO Warren Wheatley on the sidelines of the JSE event and started off by asking him about the group's corporate identity with the colourful and vibrant billboards all over Sandton.
The ad campaign and the corporate identity is very deliberate. We want to be a brand that is loved by the public and supported by the public. And so we had to get into the public. And so that was the thinking behind it. We need South African support to grow the country. We need South Africans to invest in South Africa. And that's why we led with a colorful, ambitious, loud, brash even campaign, but it worked. We collected over 2,300 new shareholders, which is quite an undertaking, I think.
And those are retail investors?
Retail investors, We've had institutional support as well, but we want ordinary South Africans investing, saving, and we want to put their savings to work in making the country a better place.
Well, I mean, you talk about, the drive to invest in alternative investments. When we talk about alternative investments, what exactly do you go out looking for?
Well, the first thing I look for is a business that can survive and thrive with investments from its own community that it services. So Bambanani is a case in point.
Yes.
80%, if not more, of the people who invested in Bambanani are people who actually frequent the restaurant and are avid supporters of the brand. And once we opened the new store, all those investors flocked there to check it out. So that's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
It's people spending their money not only in businesses they co-own along with the entrepreneurs, but supporting them through capital and patronage as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do understand, because this is not Altvest's first listing. There was a listing on the Cape Town Stock Exchange. Talk to me about the decision to make that move then from the Cape Town Stock Exchange to the JSE's AltX platform.
The decision was driven by one primary rationale, is that the JSE has a bigger broker network, which means that it is open and available to more retail investors. Now, for us to scale, we need access to every single retail investor who cares to invest. And unfortunately, the Cape Town Stock Exchange brokerage network and access to retail investors was very limited. And that was basically the only reason we needed to move.
I'm imagining, because obviously there's more liquidity and more activity on the JSE, I'm not sure, maybe there would be, higher, more elevated requirements. How did you navigate that?
The requirements were not dramatically more or less onerous than the CTSE. The team is very diligent, and listing comes with compliance and bureaucracy, and you expect that, you anticipate that, and you also need to go through that. It's all done in pursuance of protecting investors and protecting capital markets. So if you're serious about taking money from the capital markets and from ordinary South Africans, you've got to go through that process. You've got to prove that you are capable of the levels of compliance and structuring and governance that is demanded of you.
Well, the timing is also very interesting. Talk to me about that, because is there intentionality in it maybe coinciding with a pickup in business sentiment in South Africa, but also maybe future prospects of the economy?
I'd love to take credit for that. I can't though. It was the soonest date after I got my letter of approval, to be honest. We're just happy that the market and positive sentiment coincided with our listing.
You
need a bit of luck in life and some blessings, and that was one of them.
Yeah, but do you feel better? Because I understand Sam earlier on alluded to the rapid ascent of Altvest to listing status. So it seems that you've had significant growth. Would you say that then, because of the kind of environment that we're seeing in South Africa's economy and political landscape at this point, that there is quite a long runway for growth for Altvest?
So the growth is nuanced. We've seen lots of appetite from entrepreneurs, lots of appetite for funding, which means that there's economic activity and people wanting to undertake economic activity.
Yes.
And that gets us excited. So we've been inundated with requests for capital. We've supported many SMEs, in excess of 20 so far.
Yes.
Our impact statistics indicate we've created over 500 jobs. And so we're doing what we set out to do. And you can see that people's mind shift has changed.
Yes.
I think South Africans are quite resilient and they feel that they just need a chance. And when the environment changes around that, people start feeling more optimistic and willing to take that chance. And you can feel it. It's in the water, it's in our bones, it's in the air, right?
In terms of that funding, specifically to SMEs, Warren, because obviously they have specific needs that aren't really as straightforward as big companies that are looking for capital. Are there, innovative, flexible solutions that you do offer to these SMEs?
Absolutely. You would have noticed the large team I have.
Yes.
It's filled up primarily with technicians and analysts and financial engineers. We like to describe ourselves as a structured finance desk for SMEs. So we try and give an SME, whether you're a butcher, a baker, or a candlestick maker, the same sort of corporate engineering experience that any big company would get from a large investment bank. We have a number of meetings with an SME, irrespective of how small they are. I had a young entrepreneur who I had 6 meetings with personally, who was looking for under 300,000 to buy a King Pie franchise.
Wow.
And we really get stuck in, we give the guys the experience, we show them what the art of the possible is, and we really try and be as innovative as circumstances allow us.
That was Warren Wheatley, CEO for Altvest.